You're going to be hurt, betrayed, disappointed, rejected, failed, humiliated, broken down by circumstances you didn't choose and can't control. This isn't pessimism, this is reality. Life is violent. It comes at you with losses and setbacks and catastrophes that don't care about your feelings or your plans or your sense of fairness. And here's what separates people who thrive from people who merely survive. It's not that thriving people avoid being broken, it's that they've learned to break in ways that make them stronger. They've turned themselves into something that can't be destroyed by what destroys everyone else. Friedrich Nietzsche lived this philosophy before he wrote it. The man spent most of his adult life in agonizing physical pain. Migraines so severe he couldn't leave darkened rooms for days. Vision problems that made reading torture. Stomach issues that left him barely able to eat. He watched his academic career collapse. His books went unread. His friends abandoned him. His mental health deteriorated until he spent the last 11 years of his life in total psychological collapse. And yet, before that final breakdown, he wrote some of the most powerful philosophy about strength that has ever existed. Here's what's fascinating. Nietzsche didn't write about strength from a place of comfort. He wrote about it from the depths of suffering. And that's exactly why his warrior philosophy cuts so deep. Because he's not some privileged person preaching about resilience from their mansion. He's someone who got absolutely destroyed by life and still managed to create a philosophy that says, suffering is not just bearable, it's necessary. It's the forge where strength is created, and most people completely miss what he was actually saying. When Nietzsche wrote, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," he wasn't being motivational. He wasn't giving you a bumper sticker slogan to feel better about your problems. He was describing a biological and psychological reality. Stress that doesn't destroy you forces adaptation. Pain that doesn't break you builds tolerance. Failure that doesn't defeat you teaches lessons. You literally become stronger, not in spite of adversity, but because of it. Your capacity expands to meet whatever challenge you survived. And this means something radical. It means the worse things you endure and survive, the more unbreakable you become. But here's where most people get this completely wrong. They think Nietzsche is saying you should just endure suffering passively, that you should accept whatever happens and trust that it'll make you stronger eventually. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying you need to transform your relationship with suffering entirely. You need to stop seeing it as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that's happening for you. Not in some mystical, everything happens for a reason way, but in a very practical, this is my training way. Think about how a warrior trains. They don't avoid pain. They seek it out deliberately. They push their body past comfort repeatedly until discomfort becomes familiar. They get hit so many times that being hit stops being shocking. They face fear so often that fear becomes just another sensation to work through. And when they finally face real danger, real violence, real threat, they're not overwhelmed by it because they've already trained themselves to function through it. Nietzsche is saying you need to approach life the same way. Every hardship is training. Every setback is sparring. Every loss is preparation for the real battles ahead. Now here's the dangerous idea that makes this philosophy so powerful. Nietzsche says you should love your suffering, not tolerate it, not accept it, love it. He calls this amor fati, love of fate. And when people first hear this, they think it's insane. How can you love the worst moments of your life? How can you love betrayal, loss, failure, pain? But Nietzsche isn't asking you to enjoy suffering. He's asking you to recognize that suffering creates you. Every moment of pain carved away something weak and revealed something strong. Every failure taught you something success never could. Every loss showed you what actually matters. The person you are right now is the sum total of everything you've survived. Your depth comes from your wounds. Your wisdom comes from your mistakes. Your strength comes from what tried to break you and failed. And when you understand this, when you truly get this, you stop wishing your past was different. You stop resenting what happened to you, because changing your past would change who you are. And who you are, with all the scars and all the lessons and all the hard-won strength, that's worth everything it cost. This is the warrior mindset. A warrior doesn't curse the battles that wounded them. They honor them. Every scar is proof of survival. Every injury is proof of healing. Every moment they got back up is proof of their unbreakable core. And when you adopt this mindset, when you start seeing your own suffering as the crucible that forged you, something fundamental shifts. You stop being afraid of hardship. You stop avoiding challenge. You stop running from difficulty, because you know with absolute certainty that whatever comes at you, you'll either overcome it or it will make you stronger in the attempt. But let's get really specific about what this looks like in practice, because this isn't abstract philosophy. This is a way of living that changes how you respond to everything. Someone betrays you. The victim mindset says, "Why did this happen to me? How could they do this? I'll never trust anyone again." The warrior mindset says, "What can I learn from this? What did I miss? How do I become someone who doesn't get betrayed or who doesn't need people who would betray them?" Same situation, completely different response. And that difference determines whether you're broken by the experience or built by it. You lose your job. Victim mindset spirals into panic and self-pity. Warrior mindset says, "This is forcing me to evolve. What opportunity is this creating? What was I tolerating in that situation that I'm now free from?" You fail at something important. Victim mindset says, "I'm not good enough. I should give up. This proves I can't do it." Warrior mindset says, "Now I have data. Now I know what doesn't work. Now I'm closer to what does." Every single setback becomes information. Every loss becomes redirection. Every painful moment becomes training. This is what Nietzsche means when he talks about the will to power. Not power over others, power over circumstances, power over your own psychology, the ability to take whatever reality throws at you and shape it into something useful. Most people are passive recipients of their lives. Things happen to them and they react. They're victims of circumstances. But the warrior is active. Things happen and they respond. They take what is, and they transform it into what's useful for their growth. And here's what makes this approach so unbreakable. When you're not afraid of suffering, when you're not running from hardship, when you've trained yourself to extract value from difficulty, you become almost impossible to defeat. Because defeat isn't about what happens to you. It's about whether you're broken by it. And you can't be broken by something you've learned to use as raw material for your development. Every attack makes you study defense. Every failure makes you refine your approach. Every loss makes you reconsider your attachments. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Everything contributes to your evolution. Nietzsche talks about this concept of eternal recurrence. He asks you to imagine living your life over and over again, exactly as it happened, with all the same pain and failure and loss. Forever. Could you bear it? Would you want it? And most people's immediate answer is no, because they have experiences they're trying to forget, moments they wish never happened, years they consider wasted. But the warrior's answer is yes. Not because their life was easy, but because every difficult moment made them who they are, and who they are is worth every moment of pain it took to become. This is the ultimate test of whether you've broken or whether you've become unbreakable. If you're still carrying resentment about your past, you're broken. If you're still wishing things had gone differently, you're broken. If you're still avoiding certain memories because they're too painful, you're broken. But if you can look at the absolute worst moments of your life and say, "I wouldn't change any of it because it made me who I am," then you've transcended being breakable. You've integrated everything. You've used it all. Nothing was wasted. Nothing destroyed you. Everything built you. But here's where Nietzsche goes even deeper. He says the greatest human beings are the ones who can endure the most terrible truths without being destroyed by them. Most people need comforting lies. They need to believe everything happens for a reason, that there's justice in the universe, that good things happen to good people, that their suffering has cosmic meaning. These are psychological security blankets, and Nietzsche rips them away. He says the universe doesn't care about you. There's no cosmic justice. Bad things happen to good people all the time. Your suffering doesn't mean anything unless you give it meaning. And most people find this devastating. If nothing means anything, if there's no purpose, if we're just here by accident in an indifferent universe, then what's the point? Why keep going? This is where weak people break. But this is also where warriors become unbreakable. Because a warrior doesn't need the universe to give their life meaning. They create their own meaning. They decide what matters. They choose what to value. They assign purpose to their own suffering. and this makes them invincible in a way that people who need external meaning can never be. Think about what this means. If your strength depends on believing God has a plan, what happens when something so terrible occurs that you can't see the plan anymore? You break. If your resilience depends on believing in karmic justice, what happens when you see terrible people succeed and good people suffer? You become bitter. If your ability to keep going depends on believing your pain will be rewarded, what happens when it's not? You give up. But if your strength comes from within, if you've decided that you're going to create meaning regardless of what the universe does, then nothing external can break you, because your foundation isn't dependent on anything outside yourself. This is the core of Nietzsche's warrior philosophy: self-reliance at the deepest possible level, not just financial independence or physical capability, but psychological self-sufficiency, the ability to keep going when there's no one cheering you on, to find meaning when nothing makes sense, to stay strong when you have every reason to collapse, to create value when everything seems valueless. This is what separates people who are truly unbreakable from people who just appear strong until they're tested. And testing is inevitable. Nietzsche would say, if you haven't been tested, you don't actually know if you're strong. You might be strong, or you might just be untested. There's a huge difference. Untested people have a theoretical strength. They think they're tough because nothing has really challenged them yet. But warriors have proven strength. They've been broken down and rebuilt themselves. They've faced their limits and expanded them. They've encountered situations that should have destroyed them and came out the other side transformed. So the question isn't whether you'll face something that could break you. You will. The question is whether you're preparing yourself now. And here's how Nietzsche would say, to prepare: stop avoiding discomfort. Stop running from challenge. Stop protecting yourself from difficulty. Start seeking out hard things deliberately, not recklessly, but intentionally. Choose the difficult conversation. Take the risky project. Face the fear you've been avoiding. Push yourself past where you think you can go. Because every time you do this voluntarily, you're training yourself for the involuntary hardships that are coming. This is the difference between someone who gets blindsided by adversity and someone who's ready for it. The person who's been avoiding all discomfort, who's optimized their life for ease and comfort and convenience, they're brittle. The first real hardship shatters them. But the person who's been deliberately choosing difficulty, who's been training themselves through voluntary hardship, they're anti-fragile. They don't just survive stress, they get stronger from it. They've trained their nervous system to handle intensity. They've taught their mind to function through chaos. They've proven to themselves repeatedly that they can handle more than they think. Nietzsche has this beautiful phrase about becoming who you are, and in the context of warrior philosophy, this means discovering your unbreakable core. Beneath all the social conditioning, beneath all the fear, beneath all the softness that modern comfort has created, there's something in you that cannot be broken, a part of you that is absolutely resilient, that will survive no matter what. And the way you discover this part of yourself is by putting yourself in situations that strip away everything else. That's what suffering does. It burns away everything that isn't essential, everything that's pretense, everything that's performance. And what remains, that core that survives when everything else is gone, that's who you actually are. And here's what warriors throughout history have known. That core is so much stronger than you think. You're capable of enduring so much more than you believe. You can survive losses you think would destroy you. You can adapt to circumstances you think are unacceptable. You can keep going when you think you have nothing left. But you'll never discover this capability by staying comfortable. You'll never access that strength by avoiding challenge. You have to be tested. You have to be pushed. You have to face situations that demand more than you think you can give, because that's when you discover you have more. This is why Nietzsche says suffering is not just inevitable, it's necessary. Not because there's virtue in suffering, not because pain makes you morally superior, but because suffering is the only thing that reveals and develops your deepest capacities. Comfort makes you soft, safety makes you weak, ease makes you fragile. But hardship, if you meet it with the right mindset, makes you unbreakable. It forces you to develop capabilities you didn't know you had. It pushes you past limits you thought were absolute. It shows you that you're more resilient than you ever imagined. But here's the crucial distinction. There's a difference between suffering that breaks you and suffering that makes you. And the difference isn't the suffering itself, it's how you relate to it. If you suffer and see yourself as a victim, if you let it make you bitter and resentful and smaller, then yes, it breaks you. But if you suffer and extract the lesson, if you use it as information and training and fuel, if you let it burn away your weakness and reveal your strength, then it makes you. Same pain, completely different outcome, and the outcome is determined entirely by your mindset. This is the warrior's secret. They're not stronger because they don't feel pain. They're stronger because they've changed their relationship to pain. Pain is just sensation. Failure is just data. Loss is just transition. Suffering is just training. They've removed the emotional charge from difficulty. They've stopped making it mean something about them. They've stopped letting it create a victim identity. They just experience it, learn from it, and move forward. And this psychological shift, this change in how you interpret difficulty, this is what makes you unbreakable. Nietzsche talks about master morality versus slave morality, and in the context of warrior philosophy, this distinction is crucial. Slave morality says, I'm suffering, therefore I'm virtuous. I'm a victim, therefore I'm good. I'm weak, therefore I deserve compassion. It turns weakness into a source of identity and even pride. Master morality says, I'm strong, therefore I'm valuable. I overcome, therefore I'm worthy. I grow, therefore I matter. It makes strength the currency of self-respect. And these two orientations create completely different lives. Someone operating from slave morality is always looking for someone to blame, someone to rescue them, someone to acknowledge their victimhood. They collect wounds like badges. They build an identity around what was done to them. And this makes them permanently fragile, because their identity is invested in being damaged. Someone operating from master morality refuses victimhood, not because they deny that bad things happened, but because they refuse to let bad things define them. They take responsibility even for things that weren't their fault, because responsibility is power, blame is powerlessness. Think about how this plays out. Something terrible happens. The slave morality response is, this was done to me, it's not fair, someone needs to fix this, I'm traumatized forever. The master morality response is, this happened, it's done, what can I control going forward? How do I rebuild? What do I need to become to handle this? One response leaves you waiting for external salvation. The other response puts you in the driver's seat of your own recovery. One response makes you permanently a victim. The other response makes you temporarily wounded, but ultimately stronger. And here's what Nietzsche understood, that modern therapy culture often misses. You cannot heal by identifying more and more with your wounds. You cannot become strong by focusing on all the ways you've been damaged. Yes, you need to acknowledge what happened. Yes, you need to process it. But at some point, you need to stop being the person it happened to and become the person who survived it and grew from it. You need to stop carrying your trauma like an identity and start carrying your survival like a weapon. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying or pretending you weren't hurt. It means integrating the experience in a way that adds to your strength rather than subtracts from it. Every warrior carries scars, but they don't show them off to gain sympathy. They wear them as proof of their resilience. They've been cut and they healed. They've been broken and they reformed. They've been knocked down and they got back up. And every time they did, they became a little harder to knock down again. This is the path from fragile to anti-fragile, from breakable to unbreakable. Nietzsche also talks about the concept of creative destruction, that sometimes things need to be destroyed to make room for something better. And this applies to your own psychology. Sometimes you need to destroy your old identity to become who you're capable of being. The comfortable version of you that avoids all risk and seeks all safety, that version needs to die so the warrior version can emerge. The people-pleasing version that needs everyone's approval, that version needs to die so the self-directed version can emerge. The victim version that defines itself by past wounds, that version needs to die so the survivor version can emerge. This is hard, this is painful, this feels like death because it is death. The death of who you were so that who you can become has space to exist. Most people resist this death with everything they have. They cling to their old identity even when it's clearly not serving them, even when it's making them miserable, even when it's keeping them small. because the familiar, even when it's painful, feels safer than the unknown. But the warrior understands that clinging to what's dying is exactly what prevents rebirth. You have to let the old self die. You have to grieve it. You have to release it. And then you have to build something new from the ashes. And here's the promise. The version of you on the other side of this death and rebirth, the version that's been forged through difficulty and refined through suffering and tested through adversity, that version is unbreakable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you've learned that you can be hurt and keep going. You can be knocked down and get back up. You can lose everything and rebuild. You can be broken and heal stronger than before. You've proven it to yourself, and once you've proven it, once you know with absolute certainty that you can survive and grow from the worst life can throw at you, fear loses its power. This is the ultimate freedom, not freedom from hardship, freedom from the fear of hardship. When you're not afraid of being hurt, you can't be controlled through threat of pain. When you're not afraid of loss, you can't be manipulated through your attachments. When you're not afraid of failure, you can take risks others won't. When you're not afraid of judgment, you can live authentically while others perform. When you're not afraid of death, you can truly live while others merely exist. This is what Nietzsche means by becoming who you are, becoming someone who has transcended the fears that limit most human behavior. But this transcendence doesn't come from reading about it. It doesn't come from understanding it intellectually. It comes from living it, from choosing the hard path, from facing what you're afraid of, from surviving what you thought would destroy you, from getting back up when you thought you were done, from finding strength you didn't know you had, from proving to yourself, through repeated evidence, that you are far more resilient than you ever imagined. So here's the practice. Here's how you build an unbreakable life. Stop running from difficulty. When you feel resistance to something, move toward it instead of away. When you face a choice between comfort and growth, choose growth. When you encounter pain, study it instead of avoiding it. When you experience failure, extract every lesson from it. When you suffer loss, let it reveal what actually matters. When you face fear, walk directly into it. When you're tested, welcome the test as an opportunity to prove your strength. And every single time you do this, every time you meet difficulty with courage instead of avoidance, you're laying another brick in an unbreakable foundation. You're proving to your nervous system that you can handle intensity. You're teaching your mind that you can function through chaos. You're showing yourself that you're stronger than your fear. And over time, over hundreds and thousands of these small acts of courage, you become someone who genuinely cannot be broken. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you've learned to metabolize hurt into strength. This is Nietzsche's warrior philosophy, not a philosophy of avoiding pain or transcending suffering or escaping difficulty, but a philosophy of meeting life on its own violent terms and becoming stronger through the confrontation, of taking everything that should break you and using it as raw material to build something unbreakable, of loving your fate, including the hardest parts, because those parts created your depth and your strength and your wisdom.